Good evening, America. Welcome to Battleground Live. This is the show where we kick ass, we take names, we lock horns with the radical left, never quit, we never surrender, from sea to shining sea and everybody in between. Welcome, Patriots, on this Friday, and thank God it's Friday. Another glorious week in the books. It's great to have you all here. Happy birthday to Bumpin' McGroin. Of course, you know, this is the kind of stuff that we talk about in the live chat an hour prior to the show. So if you are a new listener, a new viewer, and you've got the time, you feel like you want to chat an hour before the show, come on in. This show, I mean, largely regarded to have the best chat on all of Rumble, and we are very glad about that because you all make it this way. And furthermore, this is your show and it always will be. So in service to your show, please go ahead and smash that like button, that little green thumb beneath the video. Smash it so we make the leaderboard. We've made it every single day for the last couple of weeks now. Don't want to break that streak tonight. Now, listen, as you can probably tell, I am still sick. I think I'm a little worse today than I was yesterday. I mean, I think it's difficult to tell. I think overall, maybe I feel a little bit better. Yesterday, I didn't have a whole lot of energy, but today, you're hearing it in my voice. I feel like I'm losing my voice now. But guess what, folks? I can't take a break. I can't quit the battle crew. It's just not what I do. I love spending time with you all. I told you yesterday, I consider you all to be my family. Seriously, we spend an hour together every single day. I mean, that's some legit quality time. Speaking of family, milestone happened today in Fort Parnell, and I got to tell you, kind of a big deal to me. Been waiting on this for 3 years. We've had an ice machine when we moved in, an ice machine, an under cabinet ice machine. It wasn't functional. We love the place that we're in. We love the people who we purchased the house from. I mean, they're great American patriots. There was an amazing under counter ice machine. Well, it wasn't functioning when we came in, but we saved up over the last couple of years and we finally got one. And I told you all this earlier on. The company delivers it, and the delivery drivers pull the old, well, we can't actually do it because of liability issues. And I called it, by the way. This is the second or third time we've ordered appliances after we saved up to get them, and they arrive, and these delivery people, you pay through the wazoo to have these things installed, and then they get here, and they're like, oh, I can't really do that, or oh, that's hard. And they really, in their heart of hearts, they're just being lazy. And that's another thing. It's hard to find people who actually want to do like contracting work in this day and age. And what's crazy, I can't tell you, and the contractors that we do talk to, they've told me many stories of being underbid by illegal aliens. Sometimes by like 30 or 40%. Like, how the hell can you compete with that? Folks, we've got to get this illegal alien invasion under control when Trump gets back in office. But found a great group of contractors have been helping us fix some things around the house and get and really just helping us a lot. And they came to the house and they put in the ice maker, and this is glorious. Folks, listen. I have not had ice in this house for 3. I mean, we have to buy ice, right? The bags of ice. But this is tough. This is a tough thing. And you might be thinking, well, that's not that big of a deal. When you have 5 kids, it's kind of a big deal, especially when all the girls have these Stanleys. Have you ever seen the Stanleys? They're these big, huge water bottles, this big. They carry them everywhere. Now the girls have multiple Stanleys, and they fill those Stanleys up with ice every time they get them. And then I got my boys who are scooping glasses filled with ice. So I work my ass off on the show all day, helping Commander Melanie, doing whatever it is that we need to do around the house, trying to give you a good quality show. And at the end of the day, I don't drink every night. But if I want to sit down and have a drink, I go get ice, and damn it, it's not there. Story of my life. But guess what? Knock on wood, of course, knock on wood. My ice problems are over. Katie, my oldest daughter, my oldest child, came down in the studio before we went live, and she said, "Look at this ice cube." It looked like a diamond. It was so beautiful. It was a big piece of ice. I'm telling you, I can't wait. It's going to take a couple days to actually fill up the ice under-counter ice maker, but apparently 30 pounds of ice, we will never be. It might be a little bit overkill. Yeah, of course it's a little bit overkill, but we'll never run out of ice again with 5 kids. So now the only thing that we have to worry about is hiding food from them. Because believe it or not, you kind of got to hide food from 5 kids, because sometimes the snacks that you get are gone by the time you get to eat them. So these are just issues that we deal with in Fort Parnell. Don't think less of me. By the way, I'm not the one that hides the food. Okay. It's not me. I'm not going to name names. You know who I might be thinking about. She's upstairs right now listening to the show. And I guarantee you I'm going to get a hate text from her here in a second. But look, respect, right? Like, I get it. We got 5 kids. Sometimes you got to hide the snacks because they'll be gone before you get a chance to eat them. Okay. Let me tell you about Sweetamine real quick, folks. If you're suffering from chronic pain, Sweetamine is amazing. It works because it's composed mainly of the amino acid glycine, and that's the nutrient our immune system uses to regulate inflammation. Most of the diseases that make people sick and die these days, well, they're all rooted in chronic inflammation. All those aches and pains that we feel as we get older, also due to chronic inflammation. Once daily serving of Sweetamine provides 8 grams of glycine. That's enough to stop all excess inflammation right where it starts. The texts are coming, just so you know, from Commander Melanie. We'll get to them in a second. With once daily serving of Sweetamine, most people feel the reduction of pain after just a few days. Sweetamine's also great for recovery after workouts. A 12-day challenge trial pack of Sweetamine is only $19.95 with free shipping, and it's sold completely risk-free. Use Sweetamine just like sugar. So in your favorite beverage, in a smoothie, in a protein shake, take it any way you want. All natural Sweetamine contains no sugar, no carbs, only 24 calories. It's safe for diabetics. You can get it online at sweetamine.com or call 855-GET-SWEET. That's 855-438-7933. Again, that's sweetamine.com, or you can call 855-GET-SWEET or 855-438-7933. Use the promo code Sean, S-E-A-N, and you'll get a $5 discount, folks. I love this stuff. I take it every day. I swear by it. I think you should too. Also, got to tell you about My Patriot Supply. We're all feeling pretty good about where our country's headed now, but I'm concerned because it's when we let our guard down that bad things happen. That's why I always prepare for emergencies, no matter how good and comfortable life gets. And the only brand that I rely on for my security and safety in an emergency is My Patriot Supply. Whether that be their emergency food kits, solar power generators, or water treatment systems, they're the best in the business. And right now, you can get their 4-week emergency food kit for $50 off. Their 4-week emergency food kit includes some of my favorite meals like creamy Alfredo pasta and addicting snacks like banana chips. They're very, very sweet. With warehouses located across America, My Patriot Supply can send your 4-week emergency food kit in as little as 1 day. So, go to preparewithvnn.com. Get your 4-week emergency food kit right now, but don't wait. Emergencies can happen anytime. That's preparewithvnn.com. Get your 4-week emergency food kit right now. So as I'm reading my live reads for the show, Commander Melanie is texting me right now in very real time that she is not afraid to hide food in the house to keep it from the depraved fingers of our 5 children. No, we're not afraid of that. One time, I had to replace a pellet stove. Remember last year when we always have heating problems in the winter. So pellet stove went out a couple of years ago. Not good when you live in Western Pennsylvania, north of the city of Pittsburgh. So we replaced that. And I put the old one because I think I can still use it maybe to heat the garage or something. So I put the old one in the garage. Then I open it up one day and there's a bunch of cans of pop in there. Melanie was using the pellet bin to hide her pop from the kids. Now, this is next level secret squirrel stuff in Fort Parnell. This is why we call her Commander, okay? She's very, very squirrely when it comes to this stuff, and apparently she's not ashamed at all. Okay, so without further ado, I've got Bryan Dean Wright on deck, but I want to send a quick shout out thanks to Bulldog Patriot. Said it's another good day to slam a beer and fly a drone through New Jersey. Happy Friday. Thanks, Bulldog. We love you. We're grateful to have you with us here tonight. So I've got Bryan Dean Wright on deck. We've got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. And I know that you all are clamoring for Bryan Dean Wright. He missed last week, right? Because he's just so busy. You know, he's a former CIA operations officer. He's a great podcast called The Wright Report.
Yes.
You know, and
also, Donald Trump has asked me to be governor of Canada. That is something I wanted to break on your show. Very, very excited. He called me up and he said, Bryan, I got to be honest with you. We need Canada, also Greenland and Iceland. Why? Because we need those whales with the horns. That's the only way we're going to make America great again. We need the narwhals.
So why are you governor of Canada? Why would he appoint you governor of Canada? Canada just doesn't like Trudeau?
I'm sorry. Why not? Come on. I'm a perfect candidate to replace that communist. Let's be honest. Canada could be lovely again. We just got to get rid of the leftists, and I'm the guy to do it. I can.
As a CIA guy, can you speak candidly as to whether or not Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son? I'm just saying they look exactly alike.
Well, what I'm saying is that because I have eyes, I agree. You don't need to be part of the CIA to figure that one out. As a little immediate DNA test with the old retinas.
It's kind of unbelievable. They really do look exactly alike.
Yeah.
And in this crazy world that we live in, it wouldn't surprise me, not even in the slightest, you know?
No, Fidel Castro and his Trudeau's mother were quite close, actually.
They really were. I mean, this is a fact.
Yes. Yes, she had a very big crush on him, actually. She was quite open about it. She was, and they remember back in the day, she and her then husband, the prime minister, the previous Trudeau prime minister, honeymooned, I believe it was, in Cuba.
So, exactly. I mean,
I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying there's a look. It's very simple.
There's a look. It's a very real thing. Did you hear that Nancy Pelosi falls in Luxembourg today? I guess she's out in Europe.
Yeah.
Anniversary.
She had a lot of stock tips in her pocket, so she fell over with all of them.
She broke her hip. And prior to that, like earlier this week, Mitch McConnell fell, and apparently he was serious and seriously injured enough to be in a wheelchair. Bryan, there's something. What is with our body politic in America today, where we have senators, and I mean, it's bad in the House too, but I feel like it's worse in the Senate, where people are serving until they're 95 years old. Like in the case of Dianne Feinstein. Here's where I'm going.
That was horrible.
It really was. Like, I don't wish this on anybody, by the way, but she clearly is not cognizant of what's happening around her.
Right.
And yet she's still in the Senate, and she has a proxy voting for her. How is any of this constitutional?
Well, it's not, and I think that it's representative of why a lot of people typically don't vote, because they're like, it doesn't matter, or in the primary, we're going to get a Pelosi or whomever on the Republican side, and it doesn't. They're never actually going to reflect the will of the people. They're never going to do our job. So why bother voting? And I think that's actually what Trump had up against him to really rally those people in states all across this country, those low propensity voters, to say, I get it. You have checked out. I'm going to go on some of your crazy podcasts. I'm going to say some bonkers things and remind you actually that politics not only going to be fun, but you should love your country enough to vote. And we got to do it because we got to get rid of the crazy cackling Kamala, or else this joint's going to go in the trash. And so I think that what you're talking about, whether it be McConnell or whether it be Pelosi, these are people who have been in D.C. for far too long. They don't really reflect the will of the people anymore, only reflect their own bottom lines, their own personal networks, making a lot of money for their secret stock trades. And it's a moment of profound change in this country. I think this last election was a really, really big deal in that way, if you look at the electorate.
What's really funny about it, and we'll get on to, we got lots of stuff to talk about today, but it really, I mean, you're so right about that. I think this election was a referendum on so many things. I was watching a segment with The View, and what is clear to me, my friend, is that the Democrats most of them, and outside of guys like John Fetterman and James Carville, who I do think get why the Democrats lost. I'm not saying that John Fetterman is sincere. That's not what I'm saying. But the vast majority of them just can't figure it out. Watching this segment on The View, and it was like one big therapy and cope session, my friend, like where they're like, I have these people, they're just all so misinformed. 77 million people who voted for President Trump, like independents, some Democrats, all just misinformed. They can't wrap their mind around it. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, earlier this week, if we looked at the ratings, the LA Times and Forbes magazine both did two really, really thoughtful pieces on this. We are watching the ratings at both MSNBC and CNN to a little bit lesser extent, but collapse upwards of 40 to 50+%, to the point that they're asking Rachel Maddow and other fellows like her to go ahead and oh, that was mean, to go ahead and reduce their salaries because they are too expensive and there's not enough ad money coming in. Now, what's interesting is Fox News is actually picking up some of those people. These are Democrats who are like, let me listen to what the conservatives have to say. Maybe they're not all crazy. So I think that that's a really interesting sort of data point to see leftist outlets like CNN and certainly MSNBC, their ratings collapsing. Fox News now controlling about 70% of cable news right now. And that number is increasingly Democrats. So I think that's a really interesting sort of insight into the country right now. We're looking to realign how we think and what we think.
Speaking of, realigning how we think, the Democrats, have you been tracking this United Healthcare CEO assassination? I mean, it's just so, if you watch the video, I've talked about it a little bit on the show, but my show is primarily opinion. The Wright Report is just very locked down. Basically it's like your own personal presidential daily brief, but I still try to not speculate when I feel like it's not responsible. And I am not sure. I don't know enough about what happened with this to really talk about it in depth. But what I do know is that it's tragic. You watch the video, it's tragic. It gets shot in the back, staggers a couple of steps, turns around, looks at the assassin, and the guy's a husband, a father. In the left, and I have some sound. I don't even think I'll play it, but it's probably sufficient to just summarize it. But people like AOC and Jimmy Kimmel are making light of this. They're making this out to be a joke. And they're saying like, well, people that don't have healthcare, that's basically healthcare companies committing violence on someone else by denying them coverage. And AOC makes the point, I didn't have healthcare coverage until I ran for Congress. And the point she was making was that how horrible and wrong that is. But nobody deserves to be this guy's not the cause of these problems. I just think it's evil, is what I'm saying.
What we've seen since, what we have seen since this murder, or folks on the left saying, hey, we shouldn't murder people. That said, and then, whatever the explanation is. Okay, when you work at the CIA, you shouldn't murder people, but that said, we got to kill the Islamic radicals. Okay, I hear you there. But the point in this case is the American medical system is broken, and you can point to lots of different culprits for this. The health insurance agencies, doctors, their insurance providers, or their liability providers. We got the middlemen for both the drug prescription companies, the pharmaceutical companies. There are lots of, if we want to call them villains, we can. But the point is, there are lots of people who are incentivized to keep us sick.
Yeah.
They make money off of people being sick, or they would sure not want to kill you. They don't want you to die either necessarily, but they certainly would have no problem keeping you sick because you make a lot of money off of that. So that's a really important debate that guys like RFK Jr., whether you like him or not, he's certainly ringing the bell on this issue. There are lots of others as well who are saying our systems are broken. So, for instance, on the vaccine side of things, there's the reporting system called VAERS. The British Medical Journal, BMJ, did a brilliant investigative report into this about a year ago, saying the whole VAERS system, which is supposed to tell us all that, hey, don't worry, all the vaccines are safe, that VAERS system is broken, wildly understaffed. The people who are there have clear conflicts of interest. And the reports that you do make, they rarely follow up on them. In fact, they interviewed doctors at UCLA and other places, Harvard Medical School, Yale Medical School, calling in and talking about the COVID-19 shot at the time and saying the VAERS system is just broken. So it's not to say that there aren't lots of different parts and pieces to this very, very big puzzle that we could all say, hey, that needs to be fixed. Yes. Murder, we're not going to murder our way out of this problem. We're just not going to.
Yeah.
There are other problems where you can murder your way out of it. Absolutely. Depending on how you dispose of the bodies. Yes, I'm all about that. However, this problem ain't one of them.
Well, speaking of COVID, I played this clip. I try not to recycle sound on the show, but I played this clip of Kash Patel talking to Glenn Beck. And it was Kash Patel basically saying that, since COVID, we've learned that Gina Haspel has paid 6 CIA guys to push this bogus conspiracy theory that that COVID did not come from a lab in China, that it came from a wet market and made a jump from bats to, I mean, like, what the hell? How is this?
So,
I mean, this seems like the CIA does lots of things, but even this seems like a bridge too far for the CIA. Am I wrong?
On this one, well, this is what I understand, and I am very excited for guys like Kash Patel or John Ratcliffe of the CIA and others, to get into these organizations and explain what this could mean. So what I understand happened was that these individuals, whether they be case officers or analysts or different sides of the intel house, put this report together that said what it said, which is that the lab leak theory was crazy or less than likely than, some magical, bat that came out of wherever. After they came out with a report, that's when they got what is called an Exceptional Performance Award, or an EPA, because they did this really great report. If the allegation is that they got the EPA really beforehand, in other words, they were said, look, cook the books on this analysis, say that this didn't come from the Wuhan, the institute, and just say it came from a bat, and we're going to give you $10,000 to lie. Okay, that's really important. We should dig into that. If rather it's just a bureaucratic thing where EPAs get handed out, I'm not going to say all the time, but they're not super, super uncommon. So they did this work, they did this great report, and it was a really good one, and they got an EPA after they put together the report. That is not necessarily unusual. So we just need to have somebody like a Ratcliffe or somebody at the ODNI, which of course would be our friend Tulsi Gabbard, just look into this and make sure that Gina Haspel didn't pull some sort of shenanigans, because let's be honest, Gina hasn't necessarily been a great friend to the Republic for a long time. So it's, in my view, so it's pretty fair to just make sure, because the CIA, they do train paid liars. So that kind of seems relevant in this case and many others, except for me. I'm the one good one, right? Promise.
So what do you think? You don't like Gina Haspel? I mean, here's my Trump appoints her, right? So
yeah,
I mean, and I'm not, by the way, blaming Trump for any of that. He's just learning the ropes in his first term, and you think the people that you select and appoint will be loyal to you. I mean, honestly, I know for a fact that that's exactly what he thought, that I'll be able to work with Democrats. I'll be able to work with Republicans. We'll bury the hatchet against Clinton. Like, let's work to make America great again. Wrong. Obviously, he faced some very, very stiff opposition, right? But so tell me what you're thinking about Gina Haspel. Not a fan?
So look, just stepping back, the whole point